It's news time. Information is power. Be current. The news headline. 2021, the fight between Sunday Igboho, the Fulanis and the DSS in 2021. As the year 2021 comes to an end, one of the biggest events in the country was the fight between Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, the Fulani herdsmen and the DSS. It all started when the Yoruba indigenes raised alarm about attacks made by suspected herders at Igboho in the Ibarapa North local government area of Oyo State. From the attack, the suspected herdsmen killed at least 10 people with several property burnt, including a traditional ruler's palace. When the issue was alerted to Sunday Igboho, the Yoruba Nation activists stormed the community and tried to comb the forest with its men in search of the killer herdsmen, but was prevented by operatives of the Nigerian army who allegedly trailed his convoy immediately he got to the town. The war between Sunday Igboho and the Fulani herdsmen in Oyo State started after he gave the Fulanis and the community 7 days to vacate from the state, blaming them for the killings, kidnapping and other atrocities going on there. The Fulani, on the other hand, had already created an empire in the Yoruba state, and they resisted, leaving long built properties behind, and this caused the first fight between Sunday Igboho, his members and the Fulani herdsmen after the house of the Seriki Fulani of Igboho, Saliu Abdulkadir, was burnt at the expiration of the ultimatum, following which he fled the community. After the first attack, the Sunday Igboho gained a lot of Yoruba supporters, which made the suspected herders to run for their dear life. Sunday Igboho then began a movement to chase every Fulani herdsman in the entire southwest region of the country. Unfortunately, Sunday Igboho house was raided, by the armed men from the DSS on July 1st, which resulted in the arrest of 13 persons and the death of, about 2 persons. And luckily for Sunday Igboho, he fled from the attack, and he has since then been on the run after declared wanted by the Department of State Services. After weeks of hiding, Sunday Igboho was intercepted and arrested in neighboring Cotonou, Benin Republic, whilst trying to travel to Germany on the 21st of July. The fight between Sunday Igboho, the Fulanis and DSS was one of the biggest experienced in 2021, where Sunday Igboho, who is still awaiting trial, has spent more than 117 days in custody at Benin Republic, and the Nigerian government are yet to take full custody of the Yoruba Nation activist. However, Sunday Igboho had actually said that all he is doing was for the betterment of the Yoruba people who were being murdered by the Fulani herdsmen, that he wasn't fighting with the government, but he was trying to ensure that the federal government live up to responsibility and protect the lives and properties of the Nigerian people, especially the Yoruba Nation residents.
It's news time. Information is power. Be current. The news headline. Federal government sponsors are no sponsors of terrorism and banditry. Ambassador Hagia, the former presidential aspirant on the platform of the defunct Social Democratic Party, SDP, Professor Yowuse Aga, has urged separatist agitators to go about the agitations in a civilized manner to avoid bloodshed. In an interview with Vincent Kalu, the Professor Agia, a former senator who has served twice as minister and twice as ambassador, said that the 3 zones that have produced presidents should wait for the other 3 zones to have president. After that, he noted that the president should be chosen purely through popular contest, devoid of zoning. Many Nigerians have tried to go back in history to situate Nigerians' problems in the amalgamation of 1914. They say the Nigerians' amalgamation into one country should never be taking place because of our differences. These groups insist that the amalgamation's expiration date is over and is now the time for the dissolution of the federation. But I say these people are wrong. There is no manual for the formation of nations. Wars, accidents, imperialism, necessity, agreement, arbitrations, and consensus have all given birth to countries. Our nation was born from imperialism and became a British colony after the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. But we shook off the shackles of colonialism and emerged as an independent nation. The whole world still understanding that Nigeria would be a great nation and would wipe away the tears of all black people of the world by building a great democracy and a republic where justice and honor, peace and progress will be showcased. The reasons for the failure to attain greatness are that we have poor leaders and poor followers who have not been able to make nation building their number one priority. Our leaders have continued to wallow in ethnic racism and corruption. Ironically, it was based on Pan-African unity and nationalism, and our founding fathers got independence. But soon after independence, we have systematically destroyed every fabric of nation building through corruption and ethnic racism. The last 6 years have been the very worst in throwing up Nigeria's fault lines. The parties have failed to give leadership and they lack ideological commitment, purpose, or clarity. The weak institutions of states have been unable to defend democracy, and the Nigerian people have yet not resolved on national greatness. When we decide, nobody can stop us, the professor says. The professor also noted that the Nigerians elite must come together and overcome their apathy and decide to make Nigeria great through comprehensive restructuring of the federation, saying that we need more efficient and leaner federal civil and public service, and that we need the states to be stronger and the federal government to divest itself of its overwhelming control at the center, saying that we must resolve to tackle tribalism with greater intensity that we have fought corruption, saying that the last thing we need to do in addressing our nation's calamity is to recruit into politics and public sphere people with sound character who see wrong as wrong and who are courageous to stand up to forces that seek to destroy Nigeria. Asking about insecurity, saying that we started with Boko Haram and now ISWAP, saying that the United Arab Emirates recently named some Nigerians sponsoring the insurgent group, saying that Nigerians were excited, thinking that those who have contributed to the plunging this country into the crisis that has got millions of dollars and the carnage that followed will be prosecuted. However, the presidency said charging them is not a priority, and the professor was asked about his view on this particular statement. Response saying that the view is that the government has been living in denial and that Nigeria is first starting from a civil war that religious extremists and ethnic bigotry have foisted over us. The government has invented semantics of deception, which is helping terrorists by packaging them as bandits and even worse, non-state actors. I was walking on eggshells to call the foreign Fulani terrorists arsonists, rapists and land grabbers through genocide as non-state actors. Kidnapping has been packaged as a foreign flourishing business as well. Perhaps this government is slowly manufacturing our consent and clandestining origin our surrender to a Taliban-type insurrection, and the facts are too glaring to say otherwise, saying that the government knows the sponsor of these asymmetric wars and they know how to block their funding and know far more than they wish the public to know. We lift our eyes to God in the knowledge that every terrorist era has an expiry date, and may God Almighty hasten such expiry. And this was the response of the professor, talking about how the government has claimed, to be weak to address the situation of the terrorism in the nation.